Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. And pack one, pick one. Not the best rare here, Fall of the Thran. Not really a rare you want to be first picking or picking whatsoever. Baird's okay, not exciting. Alfheim Druid on the other hand is exciting for a 2-drop. Can lead to some very explosive starts in combination with Grow from the Ashes. And a Memorial to Folly is a pretty nice one. It's a built-in soul salvage in your land, so you don't have to spend a spell slot on it, if you will. So that's a very good one too. Looking at the commons, we've got a Sapling Migration, which is pretty good. Aven Sentry is okay. Journey Mage, Syncopate, but nothing too exciting. So I think here it's probably just an Alfheim Druid. And then Hope. We wheel Migration, even though that's not very likely. If we wheel an Impulse, that's still fine. Alright. And a Wizard's Lightning in the next pack is pretty good. There's a Fire Fist Adapt, not the best combo with Alfheim Druid. Red-green doesn't have a ton of wizards necessarily, but a Lightning is still fine as a 3-mana removal spell. What else is there? Reproach as removal, Offering as removal, but these are both worse versions of Wizard's Lightning for the most part. There's another Aven Sentry. The only green card here is a pump spell, which we don't need to second pick. So, Offering does have a bit more synergy if we do end up in the Sapling deck, for example. But I think it's early enough in the draft where we should still just take the more powerful card in general, which is the Lightning. Could still end up not playing green here, could still pivot into Wizards, although it hurts to pass an Adapt if that's the case. But let's just take a Lightning. Alright. So here the best card in the pack is Urgoros, which is a 3rd color. Could still easily end up, let's say, black-green splash red, if we end up picking up some fixing. If we were to take just a straight-up green card, there's a Sap Herd, there's no good red cards in the pack. So it's between Urgoros and Sap Herd, but I think it's early enough in the draft where we should just take the better card. And then we'll find out soon enough in which colors we're going to end up in, whether that's green and black, or green and red, or red and black. We'll see. And this pack is a little lackluster. We did see a Gideon's Reproach in the previous pack, and now we're seeing the 3rd Aven Sentry and the Mesa Unicorn, so that could also be a sign that white is relatively open. If we were to stick to black, there's a Thallid Omnivore, which is okay, especially if you end up black-green. There's no great red cards here, there's no great green cards, so either we take the Omnivore, or we maybe look into switching over to white, in which case we have to decide between Unicorn and Sentry. But if we dip into a 4th color, then we're gonna have to give up quite a few picks already. So I think I just like sticking to the Omnivore, hope that green-black is open so we can move into Saprolings, but we'll see. And alright, Deathbloom Thallid is an excellent follow-up here to the Thallid Omnivore, great 3-drop, Saproling synergies, plays well with our Omnivore, so I'll take it over a 2nd Omnivore in this instance. And what else is there to consider? Memorial's okay, but not picking it over a Thallid. Another Omnivore, so not much else. So had we taken a white card, we would have been disappointed. So the only pick that could have potentially turned out better is if we had not taken the Wizard's Lightning and taken the black removal spell instead. But it's easy to say in hindsight. Could have easily ended up in a great red-green deck by now. Which is why just taking the better card first is usually a good strategy. Alright, let's take Deathbloom. And this one's a little bit empty for us, sadly. But there's no great cards in general. Bunch of blue cards, Syncopate and Retort, stand out. The rest is pretty bad filler. So we're not necessarily committed to green, so we could just take a Bloodstone Goblin, for example. If we need a 2-drop for our red-black deck, we could just take a Lava Runner to do the same. So I think that's what we're looking at the most. Don't think we're taking a blue card here, since we haven't seen a ton of blue in previous packs that really was standing out. So it's between, I think, a Goblin and a Lava Runner. I don't think we are going to need a Sentinel. Like 95% of the time, this doesn't end up making the main deck. So it would be a wasted pick, whereas a Goblin would be a fine playable if we do end up in red. So I think I'm going to go with the Goblin, even though chat is like 5% more into the Sentinel. Alright, and there's a Gitu Chronicler, so that could be a sign that red is open. So we might move into red after all, which makes our Bloodstone Goblin pick look pretty good here. And I think I like Chronicler over Rampaging Cyclops. So now we made a complete 180 back into red, and now our Wizard's Lightning combines very nicely with the Gitu Chronicler, since it'll only cost us 1 mana. And I think I like Chronicler enough more than the Mammoth Spider here that I want to take the red card over the green card, even though we could technically still just take the Spider and potentially end up in black-green. So this is definitely a decision. Did we see many good green cards in previous packs? Not really. So yeah, this is a tricky pack. I mean, the fact that there's still a Rampaging Cyclops and a Warcaller in the pack could be an indication that red's more open than green. But I think the Chronicler has good enough synergy with the cards we've got going on here that I like taking it. But we'll see. Still not entirely determined here if we're going to be red or green. But we aren't seeing much green. And now we can just take a Dark Bargain, which is perfect. Nice 4-drop. So it looks like we're going to move into black-red yet again. I've drafted quite a bit of red-black in previous streams already, but I mean, if it's open, I guess. Plays well with our Gitu Chronicler, which we just picked up. And now we wield the Journey Mage out of the first pack. So the Sapling Migration no longer here. So I think that's just an indication that we should be red over green. All in all, I think I'm pretty happy with how we started this draft. Every pick so far is gonna make our deck, except for the first one maybe. So let's take a Journey Mage. And alright, not much left here, but that's okay. Got a decent number of playables out of our first pack, which is all we can hope for. We're missing some removal, just have the one Wizard's Lightning so far. So any Eviscerate, Settle the Scores, any Sheevan Fires we encounter, we'll have to take pretty highly. And between these two, probably not playing either, but I guess we'll take a Vigor. Alright, might just take the Paladin in case we're short on playables, but this one usually doesn't make the deck. And Soul Salvage is actually a nice wheel, since it plays very well with our Gitu Chronicler. Just a nice 2-for-1 in the late game. So definitely a card I'm interested in playing, 1 copy. And got another Soul Salvage or Cabal Evangel. 2-drop in case we need a 2-drop. Sometimes we're short on those, and it is still important to have somewhat of a curve. Usually don't play a second Soul Salvage, but there are decks where you might want one. If you have a bunch of Windgrace Acolytes that fill the graveyard, Soul Salvage goes up in value, but we don't have any of those yet. Let's take the Evangel. And we wield the Dredge Sentinel even, so there we go. And what did we open? Well, we opened the red rare, but unfortunately it's not a very good one. Jaya's Immolating Inferno requires us to have a legendary creature or planeswalker in play before we can even cast it. And our only legendary creature so far is a Lonely Urgross. So definitely not taking the Inferno when there's a perfectly serviceable Sheevan Fire in the pack. And not much else really. If we were green, then we would have to decide between Grun and maybe Land or Elves, and we would probably take Grun. But we haven't seen much green in the previous pack other than the relatively late Mammoth Spider. So I think I'm still happy with the red we picked earlier. So let's grab a Sheevan Fire. Alright, well, there's Eviscerate and Sheevan Fire, so very happy to see those. And it's going to be an interesting pick, since they both have their upsides and downsides. Sheevan Fire can be used for 1 mana to deal 2 damage, or for 5 mana to deal 4 damage, which kills a lot of things, but there are a few big creatures that can potentially survive it. It is an instant as well, which is relevant. Eviscerate can only be cast for 4 mana, so it doesn't really help if you're getting aggroed out as much, but it can be more powerful versus some of the big green creatures that Sheevan Fire might not be able to deal with. But it looks like chat likes Eviscerate a lot more. Can get behind it, especially after we've already taken a Sheevan Fire and a Lightning, just to make sure we have an answer to larger creatures. But it's definitely an interesting discussion. Alright, well, we're getting hooked on Sheevan Fires. Would also like a Fire Intervention, would also love a Skin Witch, but it's difficult to pass up on a Sheevan Fire here, and definitely like Sheevan Fire over Fire Intervention for the most part. Intervention has a little bit of upside as it can deal with artifacts, so it can get rid of some very powerful cards like Icy Manipulator and Helm of the Host, but the efficiency of Sheevan Fire is hard to beat. So let's get the green out of here. We're definitely settled into black-red, can't imagine switching out of it. So let's take another Sheevan Fire here, and then hope to wheel Skin Witch. Have seen crazier things. Alright. Well, can have Urgro's number 2. Can grab a Fungal Infection as more cheap interaction, or a Fire Intervention at 5 mana. Double Urgro's can be a little awkward, but it's still a very powerful card that if they don't deal with it, likely wins you the game. Just want to avoid a scenario where we end up with a 2 high curve. But right now, we only have 1 6-drop, don't even have any 5-drops. So I think it's still okay to take a second Urgro's now. If we open a third Urgro's and have the same pick, then we might pick the cheaper card, but for now we'll just take Urgro's. Alright, and now we can follow it up with a Windgrace Acolyte. Plays well with our Soul Salvage and Gitu Chronicler filling the graveyard. And we don't have a 5-drop yet, it's a flyer that can help us close out the game. The first eruption's not very good. Takes a little bit too long for it to actually wipe the board. And the other cards are pretty bad, so Windgrace Acolyte it is. Alright, nice. Second Deathbloom Thallid, I think I like it over the Acolyte. It's just so important to have those early blockers. Plays very well with our Thallid Omnivore. And I'm pretty sure we can pick up a second Acolyte in the next pack. Usually goes pretty late. Would also like a Cyclops, but I don't think it's a high priority. Would much rather have another Deathbloom Thallid here, I think. And don't think we need a random Parodic Wanderer when we have double Urgro's at 6. We might play a Bloodstone Goblin, does have some synergy with double Sheevan Fire and with Gitu Chronicler, so definitely an upgrade over Cabal Evangel at the very least. And there's not much else here for us, so let's take the Goblin. That's a pretty late Sapling Migration. Surprised to still see it here, but there's not much else for us here. Radiating Lightning would be more of a sideboard card against the token decks. Usually don't really want to main deck this in a more controlling deck like this one, but if we were playing best of 3, it would be a fine sideboard card to have against the token decks. Probably not going to main deck it, but we're also not taking a Warcaller or a Sentinel, so might as well. Alright. Some pretty late Sap Herds and Snappers here. Could just take Abomination. I doubt we'll play it, given a double Urgro's, but you never know. Not playing a Rat Colony. There's a chance we play Warlord's Fury just as a cheap cantrip that we can get back with our Gitu Chronicler. It's just a filler card if we're low on playables for the most part. Don't have too much synergy with it. And I don't really want a War Chief, even though we do have a few Goblins. A 3 mana 2/2 haste is just not good enough, I think. So let's take a Fury. Alright, take another Goblin. So we won't be needing the Evangel. Alright, so the second pack went pretty well. Picked up some nice removal spells, Double Sheevan Fire and Eviscerate. So I'm pretty happy about those. And then added a few more solid creatures like a Thala, the second Urgros, and an Acolyte. So this draft is going pretty well. Looking at our curve, would like some more 2-drops. Did not wheel the Skin Witch, which is not too surprising, but would have liked to pick one up. So we're looking for more Chroniclers, Skin Witches, maybe an extra Windgrace Acolyte. But we're doing pretty well so far. Alright, and what did we open? Pretty good pack for us, a lot of options. There's a Goblin Barrage, which is a very solid removal spell since we've got a few goblins which we can also sacrifice. So it's 4 damage to a creature with Kicker if we sack a goblin or artifact, 4 damage to player or planeswalker. There's Skizik, which is a fine 5-drop essentially, 5/3 Trample Haste. There's a Garna, which is a very good 5-drop as well in our deck. And there's a Vicious Offering, another very flexible removal spell, plays well with our Deathbloom Thalids, for example. So let's try and exclude a few of them to narrow it down. So looking at our curve, we would love a 5-drop, which makes the value of Garna and Skizik go up a bit. We already have Double Sheevan Fire, Lightning, and Eviscerate, so taking a removal is not super important, but of course always appreciated. So if we were to take a removal spell, which one would we prefer between the two? That's also an interesting question. Don't have a ton of stuff to sacrifice to the Kicker of Vicious Offering, since we don't have any fungal infections, for example. So my guess is between these two we would be taking the Barrage. And between the 5-drops, I think I'm leaning Garna, even though there's a chance Garna wheels, whereas it's less likely that Skizik wheels. But I think I would still hedge towards Garna, so it's between Barrage and Garna, I think. Yeah, it's difficult to pass up on. The only question is, can we risk attempting to wheel Garna, since it is a multicolor card? It's not super likely that there's another red-black drafter at the table, although definitely possible. So that's what we have to consider here. The pack is pretty stacked, so it's not impossible that a card like Garna would wheel. So that's the consideration here. Take a Barrage, hope to wheel Garna, or take Garna. There's still a chance we wheel one of these 3 cards, but I think it's less likely. We'll take a Garna and hope to wheel one of those good cards, and nice. We got a Skin Witch here, second pick. This pack is pretty stacked as well with some good white cards, Seal Away, Gideon's Reproach, Courser, all great. Wouldn't mind the Cyclops, would probably play a Lava Runner too, but Skin Witch is very good here. Yeah, we're just taking a Skin Witch here. Not much else we have to say about this one. And, well, the good packs keep on coming, as we now see a pack with a Blessed Light and an Adelis, which are both great, but also some good black and red cards. There's a Vicious Offering as more removal, another Journey Mage, another Lava Runner. Probably just taking the Vicious Offering. We already have double Deathbloom Thalid and Journey Mage as 3-mana creatures, so don't have to put a high priority on those. And we would always appreciate more cheap removal. Let's take a Vicious Offering here. And then hope to wheel one of the 2 wizards. Alright. Well, we're definitely getting set up nicely here. Now we have to decide between a second Vicious Offering, a second Gitu Chronicler, a first Skizik, second Omnivore. Don't think it's the Omnivore. I doubt it's the Gitu Chronicler, given that we now already have a Skin Witch and a Gitu Chronicler that we can kick for 6 mana. Don't want to have too many 6-drops. So that leaves us with Vicious Offering versus Skizik. Skizik's a nice 5-drop, which we don't have a ton of. Vicious Offering is another nice removal spell. Skizik also plays well with our Bloodstone Goblins. So another interesting pick. Alright, let's take it. Ooh, wow. For those that were here on Sunday, where we had a few Kazarov drafts, there he is again. Just keeps following us around. Alright, let's take a Kazarov here. And wow, man, this draft is insane. Settle a score, Vicious Offering, both great. It's going to be difficult to pass up on a Settle the Score. Just slightly more difficult to cast Eviscerate, but it does exile, which has some high upside against cards like Multani and all the graveyard recursion. Alright, let's take a Settle the Score. And yeah, why not follow it up with a Fungal Infection? This pack has been only good cards so far. Don't think we need a Lingering Phantom. Don't really need a Warlord's Fury. Infection plays very nicely with cards like Vicious Offering and cards like Thallid Omnivore. Plus it can always just take out a 2-drop by itself. It's going to be difficult to make some cuts here. Wow, the cards just keep on flowing here. Deathbloom Thallid too. Yeah, well, they're definitely making it easy for us. So I'm super happy we ended up in red-black since our deck is super stacked. Sure, we had to give up on our pack 1 pick 1, but who cares when we're getting second, third pick quality cards this late. Alright, it had to end at some point. Don't think we need a Short Sword. Don't think we need a Warlord's Fury. I can start making some cuts in the meantime. Probably don't need all 3 goblins, but we'll see. Yeah, this deck is pretty stacked. Might be another 18 land deck as well, since our card quality is so high. Just want to make sure we hit our land drops and can play our kicker spells on time. Let's just grab a sword for the sideboard. This one's a blank. Alright, picked up a Lava Runner in case we want it. Another Omnivore, might actually play that one. Think we pick it over the Sorcerer's Wand, even though we do have a few wizards. I think beating down with Omnivore is probably a more realistic win condition than pinging them with the Sorcerer's Wand, since we're not a very aggressive deck, so it's not like we can deal some early damage and then finish them off with a wand, which is the usual play pattern with the wand, whereas Omnivore can deal damage in very large chunks. So yeah, let's take an Omnivore here. The first question we have to ask ourselves is this a 17 or an 18 land deck? And then the second question is, what cards are we cutting? If we're playing 17 lands, we need to make 3 cuts. If we're playing 18 lands, we need to make 4 cuts. Lava Runner's cuttable since we don't have too many wizard synergies. One of the goblins could potentially go. Soul Salvage is fine. Gives us a bit of card advantage alongside the Dark Bargain. Otherwise we don't have a ton of card advantage besides kicker creatures and the value we get from Garna, Urgros and Kazarov, which I guess also counts as removal. Given that we have Fungal Infection, Double Sheevan Fire, we don't have to put a super high priority on having too many 2-drops, since these removal spells can kind of bridge the gap between the first couple turns to our 3 and 4 mana plays. Skizzik's more of a 5-drop. I do like double Omnivore with triple Deathbloom, Thallid and Infection as win conditions as well. So this is probably an 18 land deck. Could even consider cutting an Urgros, which sounds crazy, but it might be correct. So I think 1 goblin can go. Could be that Skizzik just doesn't fit the play pattern of the deck very well, which is to kind of kill all the opponent's stuff and then grind them out with some of our card advantage engines, while Skizzik just wants to beat face. Now that we cut some of the goblins, Skizzik also loses a bit of value. Acolyte could also be cuttable, but Acolyte provides a flyer, which we don't have a ton of, gains a bit of life and fuels the graveyard for Soul Salvage and Gitu Chronicler, so I think I still like the Acolyte. Yeah, I feel like Skizzik is just gonna lead us to some turns where we have to play a kicked Skizzik and keep it on defense just because we're not too interested in attacking with him. And I still want to have enough early creatures to make sure that we can get to our late game, so I don't want to cut too many cheap cards here. So yeah, sure, let's cut a Skizzik here, I think. And then we might get away with just playing 17 lands, although 18 is definitely reasonable too, when we have Kazarov, double Urgros, 2 creatures we want to kick at 6 mana with Chronicler and Skin Witch. Think I would actually lean towards 18 lands, but then we still have to make 1 more cut. And I'm actually looking at a card like Urgros as a potential cut, just to make sure we can curve out properly and we don't get clogged with too many expensive cards in hand. Since we're not too thrilled about playing Chronicler and Skin Witch at 2 mana, but at least they give us the flexibility to, whereas Urgross is only a 6 mana play. It's always difficult when the cards are so good, since then you have to cut some pretty good cards, but it might potentially be correct to cut an Urgross here, just to make our deck a little bit more fluid. Yeah, we also have a Soul Salvage to get an Urgross back from the graveyard, potentially. We have a Gitu Chronicler, which can get back a Soul Salvage from the graveyard as well, if we happen to mill too many good cards with our Windgrace Acolyte. So I think I'll cut an Urgross here. Might be a mistake. We just want to make sure we don't get overrun in the early game, since our late game should be plenty powerful already. Alright, I think this is going to be our deck. And then I think the mana 10/8 is okay. And our picture shall be, of course, Kazarov. Alright, now we have to come up with a title. So this is the third Kazarov deck we've drafted in a row. We've had this ongoing plot where the first deck we had 2 Kazarovs, so we called it the Brothers Kazarov. Then the second deck we had 1 Kazarov. So the plot was that Kazarov avenged his brother. And now we need a third name here for the sequel. What does Kazarov do after avenging his fallen brother? Kazarov Reborn? Sounds good. Maybe this is actually a movie about the dead brother that came back to life. Call it Kazarov Reborn. Alright, let's go. Alright, and this hand seems good. Some nice early plays we can make. And hopefully we draw some lands. Opponent going down to 4. 3. Alright, so this might not be a real game. Well, that's probably the easiest win I've gotten in the game so far. Alright, so we'll only get to play 6 games with this deck. Alright, this hand seems good too. Some nice sampling synergies going on. Alright, short sword. Could play Skin Witch on 2, but since we've got a Thallid coming up, I don't think it's necessary. Alright, Bodyguard. It's a nice target for the fungal infection here. So if they go and equip it, we can kill it. Another short sword instead. Alright, let's just kill it now then. Since we want to be tapping out for Thallid next turn, so we don't have the time to infection when they equip. Alright, lightning is a nice pickup too. Could potentially play Skin Witch and a 1 mana Wizard's Lightning in the same turn, since it is a wizard. Alright, Tolarian Scholar. Alright, so let's attack with the Deathbloom Thallid. I'm fine trading. Opponent takes it. And I think we just say go here, and then probably kill the Scholar when they go and equip it. Alright, Divination instead, sure. So a double short sword is definitely a way to beat a removal heavy deck, because then even your smallest creatures are still going to be relevant. We just want to find a land for the Omnivore here. Can't find it, sadly. Alright, let's get in there. It's definitely tempting to play one of these kicker creatures since we have so many expensive cards in our hand already. My guess is we just play a Skin Witch here as a 1/3. Keep Chronicler since it can buy back one of our powerful removal spells like a Wizard's Lightning. Since again, we'll have so many expensive cards to use our mana on once we do get to 6 mana between Urgross, Kicked Chronicler, that we probably won't have the time to also play Kicked Skin Witch. Alright, Serra Disciple. It's gonna be an annoying creature once they equip it, since it can keep back our Deathbloom Thallid. And a Knight of New Benalia. Alright, Shivan Fire was a good draw. So my guess is we just kill the Sarrow Disciple, attack with everyone, since we are pretty far ahead in the race. So had we played Skin Witch on turn 2, we could have gotten in, I think, 2 more damage already. But I'm glad we played it last turn. So our opponent's not incentivized into blocking here, since they want to keep their creatures to equip. If we had found our 4th land for Omnivore, we would have been even further ahead here. Looks like they've got a good 6 mana play. Call the Cavalry. And equip both Knights, or make one into a 4/4. Looks like they'll make a 4/4. Alright, well, if we ever do find a 4th land, our hand's pretty good. But for now we'll just have to say go. Could play Chronicler for 2 mana here. I think it's still reasonable to do so again. Our late game's pretty stacked. Having extra creatures in play for Omnivore is always nice. Alright, let's just say go. And then a 4th land is going to put us in a very good spot. Opponent is at 7, so 2 Urgross attacks are lethal. Opponent is going to go on the beatdown plan. So 5/3 first strike. That's going to be difficult to block profitably. But we can double block the other Knight token. It's going to require us to block with a Thallid and a 1/3. But you only get to kill the Thallid, so that seems like a pretty good block. Question is, do we block with any additional creatures? Don't think we do. So let's block Skin Witch and Thallid. And we're pretty happy with the trade of Thallid for a Knight token, essentially. So we are down to 12. At some point we can just chum block the Knight of New Benalia. So I'm not too concerned about taking 5 at this point. But those short swords could definitely be annoying. If we draw a land, we're probably just playing an Omnivore here. Although I guess we could also just settle and attack for a bunch. Alright, so we did find a land. So if we just settle the Knights, we can attack for 4, put them to 3. And then they're pretty much dead. Unless they find a blocker, but then they won't be able to attack with the Knight of New Benalia either. So I think I like being aggressive and going for the settle. If we play Thallid Omnivore, that's also reasonable. But I think putting them to the test here is probably worth it. So attack for 4, put them to 3. If they have nothing, they're just dead. If they have a creature, then they still can't afford to attack with the Knight of New Benalia. So yeah, let's just get the Knight out of here. So we've successfully removed 4 creatures from the opponent here. Alright. So they've got 1 card left in hand. So they might just be dead here. Let's find out. Plus we can always gain some life as well with the Omnivore here, should something crazy happen. Alright. Did we get there? Or do they have a seal away? Fair enough. Alright. Opponent goes to 1. We play a Thallid Omnivore, I think. And we can gain some life whenever we want. Serra Angel, alright, our opponent's definitely making a game out of it, but they are dead on board now. Can just attack with everyone, and that's gonna be game over. Alright, GG's. Here, we'll show you the Urgross. Yeah, we were missing quite a few land drops there, but we still got there. Sweet. Alright, so we're 2-0, but only played one game. Try and figure that one out. And what about this one? It's a little bit sketchy. On the play with only 2 lands, but we are playing 18 lands for a reason. Infection's a pretty good early play, and any 3rd land lets us play a Thallid, which is also good early play. And once we find 4 mana, Dark Bargain helps us find land 5. I don't think we can mulligan this one. But there's definitely a fail rate here if we don't draw a 3rd land. Alright, Sparring Constructs, a good target for the fungal infection. I think I'm gonna wait. Alright, on the off chance that they try and equip it, or who knows what else. But we might kill it if they play a 2-drop creature here. They could have also played a 1 toughness creature for 2 mana pre-combat, which we could have killed with the infection and then blocked the Sparring Construct with our token. So there were a few instances where not killing the construct right away would have paid off. Of course, there's a drawback if your opponent has a pump spell for 2 mana, they could save the construct. So definitely a lot of things to consider there, even though it's just a pretty simple play there. Alright. Sapherd's gonna match our board pretty well. So hopefully we can find a land. We can. Alright, so against mono green, I think I like playing the Omnivore. Question is, do we trade Thallid for Sapherd? I guess we're okay with it. It's a pretty even trade. Leaves us with a Sapperling token which gains us life with the Omnivore. Sure. And in this spot we just want to develop our creatures first before we start drawing extra cards. If we draw land, we'll just play an Acolyte most likely. Right, Phoenix gets in for 2, that's fine. And a Journey Mage to follow up. So I don't mind attacking with everyone, playing a Journey Mage. Settle is a nice answer for the Phoenix, so it doesn't come back, but I don't think we have to do so quite yet. So they're gonna trade tokens, makes it less likely that they get back the Phoenix. Less food for the Omnivore, but that's fine. And we still have Omnivore activation up to save it from a 3 damage or 4 damage removal spell. Alright, Untamed Cav is a good one, but now we have Settle to answer it. So I think even if we draw a land, we're probably going to get rid of the Kavu. Opponent's going to stay back with the Phoenix. Wizard's Lining is also a good draw. So if we attacked with the Omnivore, our opponent blocks with a Kavu, we would have to sack both creatures to the Omnivore to keep it alive, or we could just sack a Sapperling to trade. I think we just settle here, push our advantage, we still have a Lightning as removal. And even if our opponent trades Phoenix for Journey Mage, I think that's acceptable, even though our Wizard's Lining becomes more expensive then. Alright. Definitely a consideration not to attack with the Journey Mage there. Just attack with the Omnivore. Alright, did draw land, so just gonna attack with both and then play an Acolyte. Ideally, Dark Bargain's just the last card you cast out of your hand to refuel. Milden Urgoros. Can potentially get it back if we find a Soul Salvage. So our opponent's got 7 mana. Don't have a great removal spell for a big green creature here, so that would be the main concern. But Omnivore can get pretty big by himself, Acolyte can fly over, and Lightning can be a burn spell to the face. And our opponent just backs it in, so didn't have much in hand apparently. So yeah, didn't do anything too impressive this game, just Had some cheap removal to interact with, a decent curve of creatures, and then a key cellular score to take out the Kavu, which was their stabilizing play. Alright, sweet, so 3-0. Alright, the sand seems good too. Yeah, Acolyte gets people by surprise. It is indeed a cat. Alright, turn to Honor Guard, that's fine. And we're more than happy to trade Thallid for Honor Guard here, just want to slow down the game, get to Urgros. Alright, Disciple. I'm also fine attacking with the Thallid into the Honor Guard. Alright, so next turn we can potentially play a Settle. And yeah, Shalai is a perfect target for it, so if that works out. It's kind of funny how when you have a deck with a lot of good removal, you're sometimes hoping the opponent plays bombs so you can kill them and not feel too bad about wasting your removal. And that's exactly the case here, since otherwise we would have had to do nothing or waste Settle on a weaker creature maybe. And now if we can just draw 2 lands in a row, we're gonna easily win the game. Even Sentry. Fungal Infection to draw. The problem is if we attack with a Sapling token, opponent just blocks it with the Sarrow Disciple, even though we could Infection the Even Sentry if they block the token, but that's not gonna happen. So we're just gonna attack with the Deathwomb Thallid, and then we will probably hang on to the Fungal for now. Could kill the Sarrow Disciple, who knows. Would love for the opponent to block with the Even Sentry, don't think that's gonna happen. Could also keep Fungal Infection to shrink down Even Sentry once we get Urgros online, so they won't be able to trade. Alright. To recap what happened, we attacked, our opponent didn't block, and now they're attacking us. And I think we take it, although it's tempting to Infection the Disciple here if we're in a race. The main reason to keep Infection here is for Urgros if they keep back the Sentry, but we can just Gitu Chronicler, get back Settle if we really have to, so I think we're fine to string the Disciple here, save ourselves a bit of damage. Oof. Alright, we're gonna need that land pretty soon here, so we can kick Chronicler and get back our Cello score. So our opponent had both Shalai and Lara. Okay, well, we still have the means to beat Lara here, but it's gonna be an uphill battle for sure. Just need to draw land soon. Omnivore can keep us alive with the tokens. We also have Eviscerate, which would be a great top deck. And alright, they're just gonna try and kill us into attacks here. We might actually have to gain life with Omnivore right now, since we otherwise don't have the time to play a Kicked Chronicler for the Cello score. This does complicate matters a little bit. So our opponent has 8 in the air. If we sack a token, we still have 3 ground blockers, which is just enough to block Sergeant at Arms and the 2 tokens. So let's say we draw land, we can play Caked Chronicler, get back Settle score. The turn after we can settle Lyra, but the problem is we're going to be at 1 facing an Even Sentry, so we might still die, but I think we have to gain a life here. Otherwise we definitely die if we don't top deck Eviscerate. Alright, we did find a land, but it might be too late here. So you can play Caked Key to Chronicler. Alternatively, we could just play Urgoros, trade for Aven Sentry, and then hope to top deck Eviscerate. So what happens if we play Kicked Chronicler? Get back Settle, get attacked for 8 in the air, presumably, if they don't have any other tricks for removal, otherwise we might just be dead. We go to 1. We'll have a Settle the Score in hand, but we'll have 2 flyers to deal with. We can settle, we'll have 2 mana left. If we draw lands, we can sack Thallid, sack the token, and sack the token from Thallid, which gains us 4 life, which would put us back to 5, which would survive the Aven Sentry attack. Or we can just draw a cheap removal spell for the Aven Sentry too. So I think that's still the play here. Kicked Chronicler, and then our out is either a land or a cheap removal spell for the Aven Sentry. Assuming nothing changes on the board, of course. Otherwise, if we just play Urgoros and trade, we're only hoping to draw Eviscerate pretty much. We missed a land drop, which was pretty critical, otherwise we would have been able to get rid of Lyra a turn earlier, prevent 5 damage. Oh yeah, I guess Vicious Offering also works with sacrificing a creature to kill Lyra, but that's still two outs, whereas now we potentially have a few more. Alright, so we're at 1. Don't want to see more flying creatures here, otherwise we're gonna have a hard time. Knight of New Benalia and a Candle. Oof. Candle means we lose a blocker. And we did not draw land, so while we do get to settle, we can only sacrifice twice with Omnivore, which means we can't sacrifice Thallid and the Sapperling as well as the other Sapperling. Since this only gains life if you sack Sapperlings and not if you sacrifice Thallid. So now I think we're dead. But we can make him do it, I guess. Yeah, we could have attacked with Deathbloom Thallid, but there's no way our opponent doesn't just take the damage here. I mean, I guess we should have tried. Yeah, since now we're just dead to the Sentry. Yeah, I could have given it a shot, attack with the Thallid, hope they block and we get the token. Might as well. Alright. So we can gain 2. Go to 3, but then we're still just dead. Alright, it's too bad. Yeah, if only the Omnivore gained life when sacrificing Thallid, which is a little strange that it only gains life with Sapperling specifically. But here we are. I guess otherwise it would be too strong with Deathbloom Thallid. Alright, well, we managed to lose a game, but it took a Shalai and a Lyra to bring us down. So, not too upset about that one. And if we had found our land earlier, we might have had the time to deal with Lyra. Alright. This hand seems okay, not exciting. Soul Salvage doesn't do anything for a while, but we've got Sheevan Fire to bridge the gap to Omnivore, and then hopefully we find some cheap creatures or removal spells in the meantime. I guess it's an Omnivore and not a Cannibal. You're right. I just realized this guy has like a big open mouth. I always looked at it like it was facing me, but it's actually looking up and devouring something. The things you see when you zoom in on a card. Alright, finding the Deathbloom Thallid was an excellent pickup here. Curving Deathbloom into Omnivore. And looks like we're playing the mirror match. Alright. Alright, opponent uses 2 removal spells to answer our 3-drop, and that's fine. And a Valduke, which we can Sheevan Fire. Ooh, they're even gonna Demonic Vigor it, so now they get it back if we kill it. Although Settle the Score would still exile it forever. Eviscerate. I mean, I guess we might as well eviscerate it here. If we play Omnivore, we're gonna take a bunch of damage. And then keep Sheevan Fire to kill him on the way back, potentially, on the cheap, and then next turn we can go Omnivore into Sheevan Fire. Yeah, Demonic Vigor, definitely one of the better auras to put on Valduk if you don't want to get 2 for 1 too badly, but you still get 2 for 1 by exile effects like Settle the Score and Banishing Light, or Blessed Light. Alright. So for now, just play Omnivore, keep up Sheevan Fire. And if they offer the trade, Valduk for Omnivore, I think we take it since we have a Soul Salvage in hand. They're not gonna give us the choice. That's fine. Yeah, they might regret using Eviscerate on Omnivore instead of keeping it for Urgros. So, a nice little bit of back and forth. Both players with some good removal, but our opponent already wasted most of theirs on our cheap creatures. Well, I guess we Skin Witch here. Empty their hand. And hope to maybe get rid of a Skin Witch in their hand. Instead they had Radiating Lightning and Feral Abomination. So had we played Urgros, it could have worked out. But might as well do it now. And I think I'm still playing my land here, since with Soul Salvage we might need a lot of mana to replay our stuff. And if they have a Skin Witch, we would have to discard both anyway. And they're still only on 5 lands, so I guess Skin Witch is not a concern yet. Alright, so this game's going well. We've got the last standing threats in Urgros. And if they kill it, we still have a Soul Salvage. So they might have kept the card in hand to discard here, so we didn't draw a card. So it could just be a land instead of Skin Witch. Alright. Well, that worked out. So do we just Soul Salvage now? I think that's reasonable, since getting back Omnivore and Thala is just a good play here. Plus we get to play the Omnivore right away. And now we can either win with Urgros or with Omnivore. Plus we still have a removal spell in hand. Alright, so this game's not gonna last very much longer. Question is, do we play the Thalit before attacking and drawing a card with Urgros just to have more food for Omnivore? I don't think we do. If they double block, I'll just sack a Skin Witch. That's fine by me. And then we can potentially still play a 6-drop. Or even a 7-drop with Urgros. Are we pumping with Omnivore? I don't think we are. Alright, Acolyte's a good play. And then we can still Thalid. So now they're dead to Wizard's Lining plus our 2 flyers next turn. Well, we showed them who had the better red-black deck. And a Garna 2 for good measure. Man, look at the value plays. We could sack a bunch of stuff with Omnivore and get it back with Garna. Don't think it'll be necessary here. So let's attack with everyone. And they're probably dead. Alright, sweet. So, going back to our deck building decision, I think I'm still happy with excluding 1 Urgros out of the main deck. We haven't really been lacking in the late game department. The game we lost, we still had a bunch of cards in hand, so that wasn't really the issue. We even missed a land drop, so definitely happy with 18 lands. Yeah, I think we're fine. Between the 2 kicker creatures, all the removal, Sheevan Fire that we can play with kicker, Soul Salvage, we've got plenty of stuff to spend our mana on. Got enough card advantage with Soul Salvage, Dark Bargain, Garna and Urgros. Kazarov's also mana sink, so I don't think we need the second Urgros. But definitely goes to show how crazy this draft was, that we ended up with so many great cards in our sideboard still. Even left out a Skizik. But yeah. Alright, so we're 4-1. Let's see if we can win a couple more here. Alright, this hand's one of the weaker opening hands we've had so far. Quadruple Mountains awkward with Saddle. And if we draw more lands, then we could flood out. So this might actually be a mulligan, despite having a Thallid we can play on 3. Alright, looks like we're mulliganing. Alright, if we draw a land, this hand could be okay. Plus we're on the draw, so we'll try. Alright, have to bottom that one. So we've got an early Sheevan Fire, second land lets us play Goblin. Swamp lets us play a Thallid. Alright, it's gonna be an Artificer's Assistant. Land is good. I don't think we shoot the Assistant quite yet, since we do have Acolyte in the future, which can block it. Alright, Tetsuko, I guess means we want to kill the Assistant, since it's going to be unblockable in the near future. So they did get one free scry out of it. Alright, let's play our Goblin and hope to draw Swamp soon. Got 10 of them in the deck. So we're about a third to draw one. Could definitely lose this one if we miss a couple land drops. Opponent seems to be a pretty aggressive deck. Alright. Well, Eviscerate's a good card, but we can't cast it at the moment. So probably just playing Chronicler here. Even though it doesn't really help with blocking anything. Can I confirm? In best of one it generates 2 hands and gives you the better one. But if you mull anyway, it just gives you a random one. I don't know how it works with the mulligan. Could be that if you mulligan, it no longer generates 2 different opening hands, but I'm not sure about that one. Alright, we found our swamp. Opponent with a very nice Tetsuko deck here, lots of 1 power and toughness creatures that are difficult to deal with. So yeah, I mean, might as well attack, we're not blocking, so... And then we'll play a Thallid. So it might be difficult to race here, but it might be our only option. We can potentially eviscerate Tetsuko and then block the flyers with the Acolyte. So that would be one plan. They definitely have a lot of redundancy in their evasion between a Courser and Tetsuko. So at least they don't have too much power in the air yet. And they're actually staying back. It's good for us. Gives us more time to hit our land drops. Alright, more flyers. Fungal Infection was an excellent draw. Can attack with the Thallid and the Goblin. Keep up Fungal Infection. Can use Fungal Infection on the Glider. But let's say they block the Goblin with the Pegasus Courser or with Tetsuko, then we could still Fungal Infection on those. They could also double block the Goblin with Courser and Tetsuko, in which case we get to choose which one to kill. So we could attack with the Goblin, we could leave it back, just attack with the Thallid and Infection the Glider. But I kinda like getting rid of Tetsuko, even though Glider attacks for more damage at the moment. Just because long term, I think we're gonna need the Acolyte as a blocker. Could also have a Gideon's Reproach or Seal Away here. Interesting. I guess that also works. But I'm pretty happy with that trade. So we'll kill Tetsuko, I think. And then deal 2. And then we've got Fungal Infection to kill the Glider. So another stuff no longer unblockable. I think we say go. Could be worse in the face of a pump spell, but they could also be on the dub plan. In which case keeping Infection could work out. Opponent moves to combat. Just a Glider attacking. I think we're happy to kill that one. And hope they don't have a pump spell. Could also take 2 and end of turn the Fungal Infection. Taking 2 could be relevant. And a pump spell would be bad for us. Alright, I think we'll take 2. Opponent has nothing. So now we have a pump spell. We saved ourselves a bit of damage, but they don't. Alright, so our hand's pretty stacked. If we can get to lands. So yeah, I'm fine if they want to block the goblin here. Alright, get in for 1. Still don't think we soul salvage on the Thallid. Although it could have been reasonable. So, if we draw lands, we have access to Eviscerate. Although our opponent's being very defensive with their Courser. Had they tried to race more, we could have been in more trouble. But maybe their hand is also stacked with late game cards, which is why they're playing it more conservatively. So if we can draw a couple lands in a row, get to Acolyte, which is a decent blocker here. Alright, just the Disciple getting in. And what's the follow-up? Sergeant at Arms without Kicker. Alright, we did find the lands, but now using Eviscerate doesn't accomplish a whole lot, necessarily. Could just kill the Courser so they can't attack with the Sergeant in the air. But it doesn't open up any additional attacks. Like at the most, we can get in a bit of damage if we kill the Sergeant, since Chronicler and Goblin can attack into the Courser, but Courser is going to be more problematic going late. So we might be better off just eviscerating Courser, otherwise they might get in for 4 in the air, play another big blocker to hold the fort, and then we'll be a bit too far behind. So sure. Kill that, say go. And then try and hit some more land drops. Acolyte can fuel the graveyard for soul salvage as well. Opponent does still have 4 cards in hand, which is the bad news. Alright, more Pegasus Coursers. Opponent definitely drafted a mono evasion deck. So, did find a land. Acolyte should be good here. No attacks. Next turn, let's see, we did mill an Omnivore, so we could go Soul Salvage, get back our 2 Thalids, or Fungus creatures. Trickster. Alright, it's gonna open up a reasonable attack, but Acolyte does a very good job of blocking the flyers here, so hopefully it's just a temporary answer for the Acolyte. Alright, so are we attacking with the Bloodstone Goblin? Yeah, I think we are. I think we're attacking. Do need to get our damage in while we can. And yeah, 1 more land and we can play Kazarov, which will take over the game. And the Omnivore can also gain a bit of life with all the Saprolings we've got going on, so don't hate our chances now. Opponent is considering something. Is it a Gideon's Reproach? In which case they can also kill the Acolyte next turn. Could be. Alright. They could send Sergeant at Arms to the skies, or Merfolk Trickster. But then we're definitely blocking the Pegasus Courser here. So even if we fail to draw land, we get to play Omnivore. If we do draw land, I think we just jam Kazarov. We are out of removal, so if they jam something scary, could be in a bit of trouble there. But Kazarov could potentially shoot stuff down. So this turn's going to be pretty important. If our opponent can get rid of the Acolyte, get in 4 points of flying damage. We could fall behind. If Acolyte can hold the fort and we get to untap, then I like our late game. 6 mana in before clutches. Right, just a Snapper. Snapper's actually very beatable here with all the ground blockers we've got. And yeah, let's just jam a Kazarov. Say go. Alright, if we get to untap with Kazarov, especially if we draw land, we can deal 4 damage to stuff. If they're attacking with their flyers, I'm definitely not blocking with Kazarov since I don't want to run into a Gideon's Reproach. Alright, they're gonna send in a Flying Snapper. So I think we're just blocking the Courser with Acolyte and taking 4 from the Snapper here. Alright. They do have something. Befuddle, maybe? Yep. That's fine. And we get to untap. We did find a land, so now we have double Kazarov activation. That probably beats playing Omnivore, although Omnivore can gain life, which is pretty unique in this spot. Probably just killing the Courser now is fine. Then I have a hard time imagining our opponent finding 6 damage out of nowhere. So yeah, let's just shoot down a Courser now, I think. Alright, they do have a trick. Trickster. That's fine. So they're gonna tap down Kazarov, but then we can shoot the Courser in response. And we will still get a big Kazarov here. Alright. Still have our Acolyte to block the Disciple, so still like our spot very much. And yeah, now Kazarov can mow down double Tricksters next turn. Can still play Omnivore if we want to gain some life. So the play next turn might just be play Omnivore and then keep up Kazarov activation at instant speed, as well as Omnivore activations to gain some life. No, we didn't miss any counters with Kazarov's ability because our opponent responded to the first ability with the Trickster, which meant that Kazarov was going to lose his ability to get a counter before the one we used first resolved. But we used the second ability in response to the Trickster, so it still got the counter from the second ability, but we couldn't get it from the first anymore. But yeah, if we knew our opponent had a Merfolk Trickster in hand, and our opponent used the Trickster end of turn, we could have potentially gotten 2 counters on Kazarov by responding with both abilities in response to the Trickster, tapping down Kazarov and removing abilities. But yeah, we definitely wanted to make sure to kill the Courser there before our opponent got a chance to untap. Alright, sweet, so we're 5-1. Kazarov claims another victim. So far so good. Opponent definitely had a scary draw. We mulliganed, we missed a few land drops, but we still were able to find our land drops in time. Which is why I think 18 lands is a good amount in this deck. This hand seems good. Lacking some of our 3-drops. Our Thalids have been very good for us, gumming up the ground so we don't get attacked in the early game. Let's play our Swamp, say go. Alright, I think we're killing that. Don't have a blocker lined up. We might draw into a 3-drop we want to play next turn. Instead we drew a Goblin. Could have potentially waited, see what we draw. If we draw a Goblin, then of course we can just play Goblin and block, so we don't have to waste our Sheevan Fire. If we drew a Wizard or a Thalid that we wanted to play on 3, we were better off using the Sheevan Fire right away. Alright, I guess we are fine attacking here actually, since I'm fine with the trade here, and I'm also fine with the trade with the Deathbloom Thalid. Alright, opponent accepts, that's good. Corrosive Ooze, that's fine. Don't really want to trade 3 damage for 2 damage here. We are the control deck. Also don't think we need to play a Skin Witch. If they attack, I might trade. We'll see. And definitely don't want to use a Saddle on Ooze. Alright, Journey Mage is a good play for them. But now if we miss a land drop, we can just replay the Thalids, which is fine. We did find a land, so we could play Acolyte. But I kind of like replaying the Thalid still. Could still play the Skin Witch, but we're so close to kicking it that it might not be worth it. We could definitely just go Thalid into Skin Witch, make sure we can block all their stuff. And we might still win the late game with Urgoros, Acolyte and Saddle. We could play Acolyte and trade for the Journey Mage, which is still reasonable. But then we might as well play the Thalid and trade for the Journey Mage, which seems better, even though it's less mana efficient. Then if we draw land, we can kick Skin Witch before deploying Urgoros. And sure, we might take 2 from the ooze by not playing the Skin Witch here, but at 18 life, that's still manageable. No, another Honor Guard, so opponent just playing some vanilla creatures so far. Right, and the Wizard's Lightning was a reasonable draw too. So yeah, play Acolyte and then we might actually trade. Although we might just take 4. And then hope to draw land number 6 soon here. So we can play Kicked Skin Witch and Urgross. Right, milled over Eviscerate 2 lands. Would have liked to draw those, but still have plenty of lands left over in the deck. Yeah, I think we trade. Looks a little strange trading our 5-drop for their 2-drop, but we got 3 life out of the deal. Just don't want to fall too far behind on board. So probably just want to settle a Spider now. And might as well attack since I'm not blocking. Alright, if we draw lands, we're in good shape. Alright, well. Now we might just Vicious Offering the ooze. We might be able to afford an attack for 2 here from the ooze in case we need to kick the offering to kill something bigger. So I think I'll actually take 2. We could also Lightning the ooze instead and then keep a kicked Vicious Offering. That might actually be better. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna Wizard's Lightning the ooze and then keep Vicious Offering with kicker potentially at the ready. And if they have a trick, we could always Vicious Offering. Yeah, Vicious Offering plays better in the face of a potential trick. Alright, it's gonna be a Gift of Growth. So I don't hate just using a Vicious Offering in response, get rid of the ooze, take away the opponent's turn. It's just an equal trade still. And we've got Chronicler to get back removal still if we can find that 6th land. Prevent a bit of damage here. Don't think we kick in response. Although we could cast it with kicker if we wanted to play around a 2nd pump spell. And it looks like they might have one. Arbor Armament, alright. Well, punished for not sacrificing the Sapling here. So now we take 5. But our opponent got rid of their entire hand. And Arbor Armament would have been pretty good in the face of Urgross still, so I'm not too upset. So now what's our play? Yeah, let's just Skin Witch first. And then next turn we can potentially Chronicler after taking 3 and then triple block the ooze with our 1/3s and our 1/1. Their last card was an Invoke the Divine. Sure. So yeah, I think we'll take 3 once again. And then play Kicked Chronicler. Which can get back Wizard's Lightning. Although playing Urgross is tempting too. The problem is that it doesn't block very well. And I think I like Wizard's Lightning here since it deals with the 3/3. If we draw land, we can still play Urgross in the same turn. If our opponent drops something very big, then we might regret it. But I think it's still the pick here. Yeah. So if they attack with both, we also just have the option of double blocking the Envoy with our 1/3s. Alright, so could also chum block the ooze if we're afraid of taking too much damage here. Double block the Envoy. With our 1/3s, they only get to kill one of them. We still have a Wizard for the Lightning in case we draw land for Urgross and Lightning. Could also triple block the ooze, take 3. I think I prefer this. Alright. And there's a land, so now we get to Urgross and Wizard's Lightning as backup. Probably just want to kill the ooze now. Opponent has shown a lot of tricks, or the willingness to play a lot of weaker tricks as well. And we might change our play if they can save the ooze here. Alright, that works. So now it's time to play Urgrowth and hope it sticks around. If they now have removal for Urgrowth, we could be in a bit of trouble. But still have some pretty good late game in our deck. Alright, let's start by attacking with Urgrowth. Make him discard a land, probably. Journey Mage. And here is Skin Witch showing why it's so good, getting a card out of their hand and being a blocker for the knight. So could attack for 7, they trade knight for Journey Mage, that's acceptable. Could attack just with Urgrowth. I think we attack with both. Make him discard land again. Alright. Still play out a land here. Again because of Dark Bargain. Could go Dark Bargain land plus 6 drop. Ooh, Crows and Druid. But they couldn't kick it since they've been discarding to Urgrowth for a while. Caligo Skin Witch still blocks the Crows and Druid pretty well here. Alright, Fungal Infection's reasonable. So now our opponent's dead to Urgrowth next turn. GG's. Sweet, so could have played a little bit differently here. For example, we could have sacked a Sapperling to the Vicious Offering when we used it in response to the trick there to make sure that the creature died even through another second trick. But then they would have still had the Arbor Armament in hand, which would have maybe been able to trade for Urgrowth. So in the end, I think it worked out. Alright, so we're 6-1. Let's see if we can win the last one here. Alright, on the play. Having Urgrowth in hand, not great. Few expensive cards. Missing black mana, but we do have 10 swamps in the deck. We've got Sheevan Fire and Chronicler as early plays. I think this is a keep. But also the type of hand that could easily lose if we miss a few land drops. And this is definitely the type of hand where I'm okay playing the Chronicler on turn 2. Let's play our lands. So we did find a swamp, luckily. Get in for 1. Don't think we have to play the Skin Witch when we already have Chronicler as a blocker in play. Opponent on red-white. And kill an Overseer. Alright, now I regret attacking with the Chronicler. I don't think we have to Sheevan Fire that since we can just keep Chronicler back to trade for it. Can afford to take 3 for a turn. Alright, we hit our land drops so far, which is good. Say go, if they kill Chronicler to get in with the Overseer, we'll just Sheevan Fire it. That's a much better target. Yeah, Overseer, not a super popular card, so not a card that's really on my radar to play around. Alright. So, nothing to salvage back. Now if they kill the Chronicler, we can't kill the Overseer, sadly. But I still don't think we want to play the Skin Witch here. Archaeologists. That's fine. Alright, Wizard's Lightning now at the ready. So we could Lightning the Archaeologist here. Mana efficiency is also a concern, so we might want to Eviscerate. Red-white doesn't have huge creatures usually. So I think I'm fine using the Eviscerate here, so we can keep the cheaper Lightning for later. And hope they just don't play a 4 toughness creature here. No, Tiana's fine. So we get to Goblin plus kill Tiana. Tiana's going to be an issue with this hand going late as well, so might as well kill it while we can. Alright, so we managed to survive the early game here, and if we hit a few more lands we can start deploying our late game threats. Two-headed giants, definitely annoying. Vicious Offering's a good answer. So we can Vicious Offering, sacking the Gitu Chronicler, killing the giants. Could do it main phase, although they might go all in on the giant if they've got a dub or a on Sarah's Wings type effect. And since this gives -5/-5, even if they have a pump spell, we are not going to take a ton of damage. And we weren't going to attack with the goblin, even though this has kicker and would have triggered the goblin. So this is actually going to work out beautifully. So now we can just sacrifice the thing they tried to steal with kicker. So that worked out. So we'll kill this, sacrifice this. We'll take 3 from a Keldon Overseer, but that's fine. Alright, let's play Omnivore, I guess. Although we could just play a Skin Witch, since at this point they're empty-handed, so the Skin Witch's ability is not going to come up. So we might as well trade Skin Witch for Overseer, keep Omnivore for later. Alright, so didn't find the lands in time to make the kicker ability relevant, but that's okay. Keldon Raider, sure. Some fine trading, and then next turn we can trade Omnivore for Keldon Raider. Alright, Run Amok's unfortunate, but at least we absorbed 3 damage, which is still reasonable. Alright, land means we can play Garna. Sadly, all our creatures just trade for their stuff. So we're missing something like a Fungal Infection to punish the Overseer. Could also Soul Salvage, get back to 2-drops. One of them can trade for the Overseer, the other one we can keep in hand to play with kicker. It's also reasonable. We would take 1 more damage from the Raider, but then we would keep the kicker card and the Omnivore in hand, which is useful. If we play Omnivore, we're just trading for Raider, taking 3 down to 8. And then next turn we can still make that play. But it's more mana efficient to Soul Salvage now, since we can play a 2-drop. I think I like that more. So we'll get back Goblin, which we will play right now. And we will get back Chronicler to play maybe later. This way, if they have something weird like a charge giving +1/+1, it still trades, whereas if we gotten back a 1/3, it would not have worked. So we'll take 4. Alright, still no land, but now we could go Deathbloom Salad, which is a pretty good blocker here. And I think I prefer it over the Omnivore, although it's close. Since if we play Omnivore, they still just both trade for their creatures, which is good enough. But if we play Salad, we get a leftover token. And our opponent might stop attacking into the Deathbloom Salad, plus if it dies, we still get a token in case they have a removal spell. So I think I prefer Salad, and I don't think we kick the Chronicler, but that might be a mistake. Since our late game is looking good, so we might just want to protect our life total in case they've got like a 3rd Keldon Overseer. Otherwise we could die, but it's so tempting to keep this when we've got these juicy spells to get back. Close decision. I think I'm gonna just play the Salad and keep Chronicler in hand for now, but could easily cost us the game. This is where playing a best of 3 would inform our decision a bit more, knowing how aggressive the opponent's deck is or how much late game they have. Alright, opponent says go, excellent. So now we get to either play Urgoros or a kicked Chronicler. Kinda like getting Urgoros online as soon as possible. Chronicler is also better at 7 mana, where we can get back Lightning and cast it right away. If they don't have an answer for Urgoros, we might run away with the game pretty quickly here. Fall of the Thran, wow. Alright. It's gonna set us back to the Stone Age. That works for me though. We'll be drawing some lands. get back one of each. Don't know if the Fall of the Thran is gonna accomplish a whole lot this game. Might delay the Caked Chronicler, but I'm glad we got Urgros in play while we did. Let's attack again. Opponent gets rid of a Phoenix that they were unable to cast because of their own Fall of the Thran. So is it Omnivore time or is it Thala time? Probably Omnivore time. And then next turn we can play Caked Chronicler potentially. And we still have the ability at the ready here since the lands come into play untapped. Alright, it's kind of a desperation attack here, I think. So this seems fine. Alright, Adamant Will, sure. And now we get to make the play where we play Caked Chronicler and cast a Lightning. So I think we can get pretty aggressive here. We'll keep one Saproling back, doesn't change the clock really. Actually, I guess we had lethal here. We could have played a Thallid, sacrifice a bunch of stuff to the Omnivore and kill the opponent. Can we still kill the opponent? Let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I guess we can still kill our opponent here. 7, 8, and then 3 to the face. Yeah, sometimes as the control deck you forget that you can just win the game. Make sure to keep up red mana. Alright, there we go. So that was a pretty clean 7-1. Lost the game to a bunch of rare and mythic angels, where we couldn't draw our 6th land in time. So pretty good performance for Khazra Reborn. I think we might see another sequel soon. Who knows? Alright. Let's crack some packs. Ariel's a pretty good one. And a Banalish Marshal. Alright, sweet. So I think I'm happy with the final build of the deck, neglecting the second Urgros. Don't think we really needed it. Just wanted to make sure we had a relatively low curve so we could survive all the aggressive decks, and then doesn't take much to win the late game, to be honest. Like, one Soul Salvage can pull you ahead, one Dark Bargain can do the job. We have Urgros, Khazra of Garna, so don't think we needed the second Urgros. And the Skizik also didn't seem necessary. So that's gonna be it for me today. Again, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day. I also want to thank all my patrons for being part of the channel, and you can become a patron yourself today and decide the topic of future videos over at patreon.com/LegenVD.